The eCom Seller Summit was created to prove that with the right tools and training, anyone and everyone can make money in e-commerce. So many people want to try their hand at e-commerce, selling on eBay, Amazon, Shopify, and more, but they're afraid they won't be successful. This summit will show you that there's many ways to do e-commerce, and there are many platforms you can explore, because e-commerce really has no limits. It really can pay your bills, and e-commerce never sleeps. There's nothing like waking up to profits from getting sales all night long. My name is Nicole Whitlock, and this is the eCom Seller Summit. Hello, this is Nicole Whitlock with the eCom Seller Summit, and today's key feature speaker is Sharlotte Jackson. Sharlotte Jackson has been actively involved with the Houston Bloggers. I think it's the Houston Bloggers Association. I probably should have gotten that right before we started, but in addition to that, she's a mom of 2 children, and she is a woman of many talents. So today she is going to be sharing with us some information about micro-influencers, which I am eagerly and very interested in hearing about. So Sharlotte, go ahead and introduce yourself and take it away.
Hi, my name is Sharlotte Jackson, and today we are talking about raising brand awareness with micro-influencers. A little bit about myself. By trade, I am a professional counselor. Of course, I'm a wife, mom, practice specialist, which is really just a fancy way to say I'm an auditor for a managed care company. And I'm also an entrepreneur. The reason I got into entrepreneurship is because guess what? A psychology degree really doesn't pay that well. And I got bills to pay, and I like my kids to be in activities. So I had to figure out ways to supplement my income. I started off with eBay, and then after a while, I branched off into Amazon, and I've done some affiliate marketing, and I do a little bit of print on demand, and I also do some consulting on the side. So I firmly believe in having multiple streams of income. I also have done work as an influencer, and I am the organizer for the Houston African American Bloggers Association. And that organization is primarily focused on teaching influencers how to leverage their talents to generate income for their content creation. So in today's topic, we are going to be discussing what an influencer actually is, why you would want them, and trust me, you do want them. Some of the metrics that matter is not always about the followers or subscribers someone has. And then we're going to talk a little bit about best practices. Also, we are going to take a look at a couple of influencer websites, and we are going to do a little bit with YouTube, and YouTube is actually kind of a really good way to kind of see what's available. Okay, so what is an influencer? Is really someone who has the power to sway purchasing decisions of others, and is usually based on their perceived level of authority. It's also someone who has a following in a specific niche, and they tend to have consistent interaction with their audience. And that's really the important thing, that consistent interaction. Okay, so here's why you want influencers. Influencers spend a lot of time getting people to like, know, and trust them. And what I mean by that is they spend a lot of time producing content so that people will know who they are. And if they're consistently producing content that people like, then over time, they gradually build a following. And if they continue to produce content that people like, they begin to trust that person as well. And when that trust factor enters into play, then it's a lot easier to influence that decision making. Influencers also have a very good way of being able to start conversations. And sometimes it happens like this. The influencer may have some type of issue. Maybe it's a beauty blogger, and they've run out of makeup, or maybe their favorite foundation got discontinued. So they'll go out and look for something that's similar. So they'll start a conversation about, hey, I'm on the lookout for a foundation because the foundation that I used to use is no longer available. So they'll go out, they'll find different types of foundations. And so if they're posting online, if they're posting on Instagram, if they're posting on Facebook, a lot of times people will kind of hop into that conversation and say, oh, well, I like this brand over this brand. And they'll say why. And so it really starts to get that conversation going on that particular topic. Now, influencers, their bread and butter is creating content. And if you have a product to sell, chances are you're mainly focused on selling that product or creating new products to bring to market. So you may not have time to do a lot of the marketing that goes along with that. Influencers, by their very nature, are marketers. And part of that marketing is creating content centered around products. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I was going to say, when we talk about creating content, a lot of different, and you can correct me. I think there's a lot of different types of content, and I'm sure you're probably going to go into them, but there could be something content that's just text, just an article on a blog. And so that's a form of content. It could be graphics. It could be a combination of blog articles and, in addition to that, video. So maybe it's a content, or I think you were talking about earlier, different, like it could be instructional, or it could be their discovery or research one, like you explained around finding a makeup replacement. Like that's a research project, and they could show their journey and what the results were for different products that they're showcasing on their research journey. Did I get that right?
Yes, and you are right. It can be on multiple platforms. It may be a Facebook post. It may be a tweet. It may be a TikTok. It may be a YouTube video. There are a ton of different ways you can create content. So, for example, they may receive a subscription box. So that what they may do is they may take a picture of the subscription box and then post that on Instagram.
Okay.
And they may get the subscription box. They haven't opened it yet. They start the video and they just start taking things out of the subscription box and say, oh, well, I got this concealer, or hey, this looks like a nice eyeshadow palette, or maybe it's a photographer who got a new camera that came in a bundle, and so they take out everything that came out of that bundle. So, and unboxing video. That makes sense,
Yeah, it's
because
an
if I don't know what's
unboxing.
in the yeah. If I don't know what's in the package, and if you're getting an honest reaction, sometimes it's like, oh wow, that's really awesome, or why did they even put this in here? So you kind of want that authenticity. That makes sense.
Absolutely. So I will say this. I know Charlotte did an unboxing because she was our winner. I don't know if it was 2 summits ago of the Dymo printer. And I think she did an unboxing video for us on the Dymo printer, the fact that she won it, which is a great,
Yeah.
again, something we can use in our marketing for ecom sellers, because she is showcasing that unboxing video. So again, bloggers are they're either going to take you on the journey of trying to figure out, a solution for something. They're going to take you on the journey to do product research for a specific thing. And maybe at the end of the journey is your specific product that you're trying to sell, or maybe your audience is at the end of that journey somewhere or along that journey, and they will get conversations started on different things. So I love that idea, that concept of, they are building an audience for you to know, like, and trust, so that as they're on that journey, that audience could become your audience for your product or service, whatever it is that you do or offer.
Exactly. And one of the main factors is, of course, brand awareness. That's really all it amounts to. And if you have, especially if you have a product that's very nichey, know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh, not everybody is going to be using silicone molds for anything. Like, I don't ever use silicone molds, but if you have somebody out there who creates coasters to sell on how to create coasters, then that may be a natural fit for you. That makes
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah, it
And
does.
if they're and if they're using if that content creator is using your molds, more than likely people are gonna ask them, hey, where did you get those molds from? And they're gonna say, and they'll probably post a link, hey, I got these molds from, you know, Nicole's mold shop.
Absolutely. So, as part of this session, I know that we have some challenges with internet. Miss Charlotte is in Houston, and so we know that Houston just had a freeze once in a while. So did the Dallas Fort Worth area. So every once in a while, we may have a little bit of freeze. So I will always try to recap if we lose her or if she loses me in the middle of this. So keep going. So can you repeat part of what you were saying about mold? So I think you were saying a coaster mold. Is that what you were saying?
Right. So if you have a content creator who uh, maybe does resin coasters, they have to put that resin in a mold, and maybe the mold that they're using, maybe it is not that great, but you happen to sell a different type. Maybe this content creator is using aluminum molds, and you sell silicone molds. So if this content creator happens to run across your particular product and they test it out and they make a video about it and they post it, people are going to see that. And so once they post it, especially if they post it on YouTube, YouTube is pretty much forever at this point. So people are going to look at that and be like, hey, that seems kind of neat. And I kind of want to make something of my own. How can I get that? So more than likely they're going to post a link to where they got that mold from. That makes sense.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that the great thing about YouTube is that if they are saying in the title your specific product or the name, the exact name, like if you're in a niche and people are searching on YouTube for that niche, oh my gosh, your video is going to come up and it'll be out there 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 3 days from now, like it's there. The video that influencer created is there forever.
Exactly. And that's very, very important. So that's why all of this matters. Okay.
Absolutely.
So there are different influencer levels, and I just want to make y'all aware. Primarily, you have mega influencers, macro influencers, micro influencers, which is really what we're probably going to focus on, and then your nano influencers. Just as a tip, don't sleep on the nano influencers because they have a potential to grow.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so your mega influencers are typically your top tier. They're your AB list celebrities. Uh, I say over 1 million followers. Really, they have much more than that. The thing about the mega influencers, they just have really a general audience. Like everybody knows who they are. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And typically, your bigger brands are working with mega influencers. Like, I think Adidas works with Beyonce.
Okay.
Oprah Winfrey has launched a multitude of brands just by saying, "Hey, I use this product." That's just what she does. Kim Kardashian is another one. But the thing about mega influencers, they're very expensive. Unless it's somebody who, Oprah Winfrey, typically, she's kind of an anomaly because she'll just talk about, hey, this is just what I like. She's not necessarily getting a cut of that deal.
Okay.
A lot of your mega influencers, they don't get out of bed for anything less than $1 million.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So it's okay if you don't have that kind of budget. It's fine. Not going to worry about that. Now, if you happen to run into a situation where a mega influencer happens to run across your product and they post about it on social media, just be prepared. If they have that kind of clout, you are probably going to get a lot of orders at that point.
Which is a nice problem to have.
Nice problem to have, but just understand that doesn't happen very often. Where they just, man, I just really like this lipstick. Let me go ahead and just tell you how much I like this lipstick. That it doesn't happen very often. But if it does, just understand it's a nice problem to have. Okay, so a little bit below that would be your macro influencers. These are your more internet famous. They're not necessarily celebrities, but they got famous by really just posting content on the internet, and it was just very entertaining, and a lot of it went viral. They typically have between 100,000 to 1 million followers or subscribers. A lot of your macro influencers a lot of them are actually on YouTube. Typically, they're more able to reach a more specific demographic, if that makes sense. Whereas, Beyonce kind of appeals to everybody, but then you have your macro influencers where, their target audience may be young adults young women between the ages maybe 18 to 25. Okay. That makes sense. So they have a more specific demographic. It's still kind of general, but it's not to the level of where everybody knows who they are. Like everybody knows who Oprah is. Everybody might not know who Jeffree Star is. And Jeffree Star, I think, is a beauty vlogger. Like he has his own makeup line out now and everything, but he's more for a specific demographic. But the thing about micro influencers, they're still pretty pricey. They're still kind of expensive. So yeah, I mean, they may take less than $1 million, but just know you probably don't have the budget right now. And that's okay if you're new starting out. It's okay. It's fine.
It's okay. It'll be okay. All right.
It's all So this is where we are, micro influencers. Now, micro influencers, they do have a smaller following, but their following tends to be a lot more engaged. And the reason people follow them is typically because they're in a specific niche and they're seen as leaders in that. It like in e-commerce, like I followed Jim Cockrum. I think that's his name. He's specific in the e-commerce niche. Somebody who's maybe more engaged in art probably isn't going to know who he is, but Jim has a lot of clout in the e-commerce industry.
So part of what you were saying was so can you explain what micro influencers are? Because you kind of cut out for just a second. Just repeat that. You don't have to mention the person's name. Just mention what it is again for the micro influencers.
So micro influencers have a smaller following, but they're more niche specific. It may be somebody who, and they're typically seen as a leader in the industry in that particular niche. They have anywhere between 1,000 to 100,000 followers. So they still have a fairly large audience. And one of the great things about micro influencers, they aren't as expensive. I mean, some of them can be a little pricey, but if you have a budget of say $500, they'll probably can work with you within that budget. That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So
And a
she's
lot
got
of
1,000 to 100,000 followers. So micro influencers. That's good.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they'll they're a little bit more willing to negotiate on things. Uh, and a lot of times they have a lot of high engagement. You would be surprised how often you'll see a micro influencer who may have, 10,000 followers, but their posts are getting, 500 comments.
Mm, okay. So they know how to
Or
drive that traffic that you want. They know how to drive the traffic you want.
yes. And again, because they're in a niche, you don't have to necessarily be if you don't have a product that's within their niche, there's no point in necessarily trying to engage in that particular micro influencer. But if you have a product that is within that niche or maybe even niche adjacent, then yeah, that may be a good thing for you. And you have to over time you'll figure out how to make those type of relationships work. Okay. Um, Actually, I want to show you a website. So
Okay.
we'll exit out of that. This is She Flies Solo. This is an influencer. She's a travel blogger. But what she does is she plans excursions, exotic excursions for nurses. Now
Nice.
she's not a nurse herself. She's not a nurse, but she happened to fall into a niche where nurses just want to get away. She understands the travel industry. So she would create these exotic excursions to Bali and uh, all these other, she would find like resorts. And I would see the photos and I'd be like, man, I wish I were a nurse. So um, you have to kind of figure out. So this somebody, she does travel. So if she's doing travel, then she probably needs things for travel, whether it's travel bags, full luggage sets. I believe she also, puts packages together for her nurses, whether it's, maybe it's, just a care package, whether it's, some merchandise or some sunscreen. So if you have a product that would fit with her particular brand of working with nurses for travel excursions, she may be somebody you would want to work with. Let's say you sell luggage, or let's say you do print on demand. Maybe she's looking for a new printer. Hey, I can design shirts for your next excursion. How can we work together?
There you go. That's awesome. I love that.
So, just kind of keep that in mind. She's a micro influencer. She doesn't have a humongous following, but people do follow what she's doing.
Nurses
Okay.
in particular. So if you are selling, so here's an idea. I love this because this is a great example. So what if you were selling nurses scrubs, or maybe you were selling unique designed nurses scrubs, or maybe you were selling uniquely designed face masks that have a specific design or pattern on them that nurses like. Maybe it's nurses in the NICU or in pediatrics, or maybe it's nurses who take care in the geriatric ward or something like that. Maybe it's nurses that are in the ER, and so you have a specific mask. She's going to have a nursing audience. These are nurses that are probably been going through a lot through COVID-19, and they're probably ready for a vacation.
Man, what?
So they may be following her in the interim so that when they're ready to book that vacation, now she's got that audience of nurses that have been following her. And so if you want to sell your product, she could showcase your product in a completely different way because she's already got the nurse audience. I love that. I just love it.
Heck, if you sell supplements, those nurses are tired. They need some energy.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a number of different products that you could use micro influencers for, meaning that to showcase your products. That's just I love that.
So, you just kind of you do have to think a little bit outside of the box and just kind of brainstorm how to.
All right, it's loading.
Okay, so now you have your nano influencers, and don't sleep on nano influencers. And here's why. Even though they have a tiny following, they can still influence people. Now they're typically influencing their friends and their family, but nano influencers built have helped brands build even before the internet. If you think about it, Mary Kay, Avon, Tupperware, Pampered Chef, all of your direct sales companies, they're built on nano influencers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was even before the internet came along, because what are they doing? They're saying, hey, I have this product and I want you to try it. Or whether it's Pampered Chef, hey, I'm hosting a party. And during that party, well, these are the tools that I used to make this pizza. And by the way, here's the order form, and you can get it right now today.
Absolutely. Network marketing. Definitely.
That's really all network marketing is. It's just a bunch of nano influencers selling to friends and family. Let's just keep
Yep.
it real.
That's
So
exactly what it is. Yeah.
so again, and also a lot of your nano, they're the ones who are either consistently asking questions or consistently offering solutions.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. So I think there's a great
So
opportunity. You find a nano influencer, like she said, that has 1,000 followers. So what if, you found 100 nano influencers in whatever it is, and or maybe it's niche adjacent, like 100 of them, and they all had 1,000 followers that were highly engaged. That's game changer for your product. That's game changer for your brand. That's game changer for pushing that out. So, what do nano influencers charge, if anything, for their?
honestly, they really, a lot of times your nano influencers don't even realize that they're influencers. If you really think about it, is usually until somebody says, hey, um, I have an affiliate link, would you mind sharing it? That's usually when it dawns, hey, I can make money with this.
Yeah, that's about right. They don't know that they are influencers sometimes, and so I agree.
Yeah, they usually don't know. They really don't. Um,
But they're putting content out all the time. So
y-
they're building an audience is what they're doing. They're audience building and putting out content on a regular basis. And eventually they will progress into
there's-
micro influencers.
and you, uh, for nano influencers, they usually don't realize it until they get a DM.
Okay. And then
Hey, I would be interested in working with you.
okay.
So that's really when it dawns on them. Otherwise, they're usually just happy. Oh, look. Oh, you're just gonna send me something and I gotta try it out? Sweet. And that's it.
Nice. It's nice. Okay.
Okay, so now we're gonna talk about metrics that matter. Okay, so the first one is followers and subscribers do matter to an extent, but you have to be careful because followers and subscribers can be bought. So you can look at it. It can be a part of the overall picture, but don't let that be the only thing that you're looking at. Because you also want to look at what's the level of engagement? How many likes if you're working with an influencer and you are going to do your own research, you're going to look at what they're posting. How many likes do their posts get? How many times are people sharing it out? How many people are commenting on what they're posting? If they post a link, how many times are people clicking that link? How many, if it's a video, how many views is that video getting? How many times are they mentioned online? That makes sense.
Yep.
So a lot of that goes into what you need to look at, because that tells you if that's effective or not. If you have somebody with 10,000 followers, but their posts are only getting like 2 or 3 likes, maybe 1 or 2 shares, maybe that they're not putting out content that people really want to look at. If they have 1,000 followers and their posts are getting 10, 15 shares, hey, maybe that's somebody you may want to work with. Okay, so impressions is how many times something comes up in your timeline. Okay, so the way to increase impressions is through likes and shares and comments and all of those. All of those. So every time somebody writes a comment on a Facebook post, it increases that impression. It comes back up in your timeline. If somebody shares something, it shows up in somebody else's timeline. That makes sense?
Yep, makes sense.
Okay. Now your reach is the number of people who could have potentially seen what was posted.
Okay.
So you have your impressions and you have your reach. So the more impressions you get, the greater the reach is.
Okay. Right.
And the way it's kind of weird how it's calculated. Let's say you share a post and 10 people see that post that you shared. Mm-hmm. Now, those 10 people may have anywhere to, 300 to 500 friends. And if they see it on their timeline, then those other people may also see it on their timeline. They may never see it, but mm-hmm. it's a potential that they could see it. That makes sense?
Yeah. Okay. And you can also, the thing about it is you can also, if you're working with a nano influencer that maybe has a fan page, that you could work with them on creating ads for people who maybe follow their fan page, or people who have find a lookalike audience that's similar to them and run ads based off of that. That's always
exactly. So yeah. And yeah, ads are always an option. And that does significantly increase impressions and reach. But organic reach is always, I find it always preferable to paid reach, because if it's organic, then that means people just are naturally seeking out what you're putting out. That makes sense?
Yep, they're using the keywords to do the search that your nano influencer is using on a regular basis.
Exactly.
So that's how they're finding your nano influencers, because the keyword volume of whatever that person's putting out for that niche.
Exactly. Okay, so of course we are going to talk a little bit about best practices. Okay. So we did talk a little bit about, when we were talking about She Fly Solo, a little bit about what's called brand congruence. And basically that just means, does your brand fit with their brand? And here's why this is important. Neither one of y'all have time or money to waste. If you have a product that fits in with what they're creating content for, then it's a lot easier to create that content. You're not wasting time thinking about, okay, well, how can I fit this in? That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um,
It's
and
also
some,
tied directly to the organic part of it too, because again, if people are organically finding your influencer using the keywords in their search that you are, targeting, then they're going to easily find it and makes it a whole lot easier. The influencer doesn't have to create alternative content just to drive traffic to your product, and you don't have to, do something alternative as well just to get the influence to help the influencer get more traffic to your listing. So it
yeah,
works both ways. It works both ways. Okay.
yeah. I mean, if you're selling wrenches, somebody who does sculpting is probably not going to need a wrench. They may need some sculpting tools. They may need a chisel. And if you're going to bring a chisel to the market, you may work with that sculptor. But otherwise, there's really no point in y'all having that type of discussion. No point in wasting your time. Okay, so 2, have a budget. It makes the influencer feel good if you offer to pay them. It makes them feel valuable, and you want them to feel valued. And if you go to them with a budget, it lets them know, okay, so your budget is $100. Okay, so this is what I can offer you for $100. If your budget is $500, okay, great. This is what I can do for $500, and so on. If your budget is $100, they may say, okay, I can do a blog post, I can do a short video, and I can do an Instagram post. I'm not saying you're going to get all of that for $100, but that may be what they say. If they say, okay, my budget is $500, okay, for $500, I can do a video series, and I can do 5 posts on Instagram. Now, it really just depends on what that particular influencer does and what your particular product is. If you have a product that lends itself to a demonstration video, then it may be a better fit for you to find somebody on YouTube. If you have a product that lends itself to creating a pretty picture, like maybe you do a journal, you create journals, somebody, an Instagram influencer could create a nice setting, a nice setup to showcase that particular journal. It really just depends on what type of content that particular influencer creates. Now, what I will say is, I have had situations where people have approached me and say, hey, well, this would be good exposure for you. That's bad form. And here's why. If you found me, that means I already have exposure. And if you're wanting to work with me, that means you're the one who really wants exposure.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with that 100%. That is. And
create this content.
say that again. Say that one more time.
I said it takes time and effort to create this content.
Absolutely. The other thing is when you have a budget, it also lets that influencer know that you're serious, that this is not going to be a conversation that's potentially a waste of their time. So it could maybe build a long-term relationship with each other. So that's another way that's the way I look at it, is when I reach out to influencers, like this could be a long-term relationship for the both of us.
Right. And by all means, negotiate. Sometimes if the influencer is experienced enough, they may still be a micro influencer, but they may have learned over time, okay, this is what I want for these services, right? You can certainly negotiate. If this is somebody who creates paintings for a living, you sell canvases. Okay. Here's my budget. I can pay you maybe $250 in cash, and then I provide you with a certain number of canvases. That's a legitimate negotiation, because if you're providing this artist with canvases, who's also an influencer, guess what? They don't have to go out and buy the canvas. That is a win-win for both of you. Now they have to agree to it, and you certainly, if you're willing to negotiate, you do have to make it worth their while. You have to figure out, okay, what is something that they really need? And cash is always great, but what is something that could also help them create that content on a consistent basis? And if they consistently have canvases, they consistently have opportunities to create content.
Yep. I think of Bob Ross when you say canvases.
Right?
Bob Ross. He was creating content all the time. I think of him.
All the time.
All the time. He was creating content all the time.
I love Bob Ross.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking about, if you use Bob Ross as an example, you got, canvases, you got paint, you got brushes, you got the easel. You've got the little thing that he held the paint on. I don't know what that's called. You've got whatever colorful shirt he's wearing. Like, there's all kinds of stuff. Okay. And you got all of that he could be approached by all different types of product brands to showcase a specific thing. All in just drawing one painting. And let's put a little tree over here. I love it.
Bundle.
Yeah, you can sell bundles. That's absolutely
subscription box. That's a subscription box if you market right.
Yeah, that's right. That is a subscription box. Bob Ross was a great example.
That's a good idea. Hey, yeah, this is a lovely artist who's consistently creating content, and our supplies are expensive. That's a partnership right there. Okay. Also, just for your protection and their protection, have a contract. That's just basic business. You want to have everything in writing so there can be no misunderstandings. That makes sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So just have a content. I would advise, instead of creating your own contract, if you can afford it, consult an attorney. You just start willy-nilly making contracts, because the thing is, the person who creates the contract, then they're responsible for any misunderstandings. It's kind of along those lines.
Okay.
The burden is on the person who creates the contract.
Okay. Good to know.
So consult an attorney. Oops. Before we get to that, I did want to before we get to that, I did want to go visit another website, and I know this is going long. Okay. So here's the thing. Don't sleep on your nonprofits. They're also content creators, because they have to let people know that they exist in order to get funding. Now, this particular nonprofit
So I think she's trying to tell us about this nonprofit, which I think she'll have to come back and tell us what exactly they do. And again, Houston Internet. She's back. All right. Can you tell us what this so can you tell us what this nonprofit does?
Okay, this nonprofit creates care packages for college students.
Oh, okay. I love that.
Think about it. Let's think about it. So, and this is just, some of the, they have some of their merch. They have Whataburger in there. They have a Capri Sun, some Mott's. Look like they have some, what's that, hand sanitizer? Looks like a little coin thingy, some buttons. Think about what you could get into that bundle. I mean, that's a whole bundle right there. Really.
Yeah.
And
are a great opportunity. I'm just going to tell you guys from experience, college students are a great opportunity. Because there's an endless supply of college students because kids are always becoming seniors and graduating from high school, and some of them will go to college.
And they're always online.
They're always online. It's kind of like babies. Having a new baby is always going to happen. So that's one of those things that you have an endless supply of new stuff. People will buy used, but they will buy a lot more new than they will buy used. So, college students, is their first experience. So they want the news, whatever it is. Bundles are an amazing opportunity. So I don't. So how is this? What I am curious about, and I'm gonna have to go read the site. How is this a nonprofit? Like, what is it about it that makes it a nonprofit? I'll have to go read that.
Well, what makes it a nonprofit is they seek donations to create the care packages to give to the college students. So they're not actually making any money
Right.
themselves. It's really the person who created this. Her name's Tiffany. She's a
Mhm.
very lovely person. She actually has a daughter in college, and that's where her heart is. Taking care of college students,
There
and
you go.
they, you know, when you have somebody who's going away from home for the first time, it's just nice to get something and just so people, hey, somebody cares about me. And
That's right.
even if it's just some fruit snacks
Well, and something from
or a
home
Capri
too.
Sun.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
something that feels like home. Yeah. So if you're from Texas, somebody sends you some Whataburger. You're over in California, somebody sends you some Whataburger ketchup. You'd be like, yes, like or if you're somewhere else and they send you some barbecue sauce from your local town, you'd be like, yes. So yeah, I get it. I get it.
So here's the thing. So think about it. They get this care package. They immediately turn on that video on their camera, and we're posting on YouTube, posting on TikTok. Look, oh, and they just start pulling stuff out the box. And they happen to pull, maybe it's a shirt that you created, and you happen to put a business card in there. You know, I mean, this right there is just rife with opportunities. Now, it's not very niche specific, but think about, do you have a product that a college student would want or that they would be excited to get?
Yeah, and that's immediately. And they're always online, so they're always making TikToks, they're always making, Instagram posts or whatever. And so they unintentionally, because you put it in a care box, you donate it to a nonprofit and you put it in a care box, they unintentionally record a video that you now have that's out on the public domain that you can use in your marketing, which is awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's really part of the plus I went to nonprofit.
Yeah.
Now, a real quick way to kind of here's the thing. Algorithms are your friend. If you're on YouTube and I typed in acrylic pouring because I just like watching people pour paint. Don't ask me why, it's just cool. Because you type this out and continuously, you know, look for influencers who also pour paint. Whenever I look at this, instead of going by relevance, I always look for upload date. And here's why. I want to make sure that if I decide to, let's say I sell paint, if I'm going to work with somebody, I want to make sure that they've created some recent content.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do the
So
same thing in Google searches as well. I change it to most current date in the last month or 2 months.
yeah, and somebody just posted something 11 minutes ago. They're quick on this. And then I kind of look at view count. With your newer videos, like I'm not expecting them to have in the first 10 minutes. It's not expecting that. And I just kind of look, kind of browse, see what's going on. And I look at their titles, they're using keywords. Um, just kind of browsing. And
So
then, I may click on one.
yeah, if you click on one, so what I did is I learned recently, because I was doing research for influencers as well, that you can go to their about on their channel, and sometimes you can connect with them or get an email address to connect with them. You can also sometimes find them on LinkedIn. Those are two ways in which you can actually get a real either an email address or connect with them directly. I have done some trying to connect with them on Instagram or, that way, but I don't always get exactly what I'm looking for. But I have found that on
Yeah.
YouTube, there's if you go to about and then to unhide the email address, you can, type in your information and it'll display the email address. You can reach out to them when you go to their channel.
Okay. So I'm just gonna click on one. This one doesn't have any views. I'm just curious to see um what her subscribers look like. We're not actually gonna play the video. Oh, this person is in the US.
Okay. Yeah, I just go to the channel.
Now they have 17 subscribers. It's small, but that's okay. She does use a lot of keywords though. Okay. I can respect that.
Yeah. So I go to the
Hey, I
channel.
can respect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to see, and if the internet weren't so slow, it'd move a lot quicker. But you can see, like, once you click on a video on the side, they bombard you.
This is how you get sucked into the vortex or the black hole that is YouTube. Yes.
Yes. But this is how you find the influencers.
This is how you find.
This is literally how you do it.
So let me
Now,
just tell you one of my strategies, how I find some of the influencers I'm looking for. I use a VA because I don't have any time to give to this. I will ask the VA to go do research for the top 20 or top 30,
right?
yeah, YouTube influencers that they can find when they just do searches for, if I give her 20 keywords, what's the first, 10 videos that come up consistently for these 20 keywords? And whatever those videos are, I have them go to the channel and go do research on that person, give me some numbers. So in that way I can narrow it down and I don't have to do the research myself. And then from there, I can just reach out to those people that are make the top, top 5, top 10 list. Say, okay, here's the
Yeah.
keywords what I'm looking for, or top 10, top 20 list, whatever you want to do. Then that way that saves you a bunch of time. So yeah, this is good information. So I just
Yeah,
think,
I kind of like her because she appears to be creating a lot of content.
yeah. So if your niche was canvases or paint or
Um,
brushes or that, be helpful. All right.
yeah, and one of the things you do need to look for is consistency. She seems to be fairly consistent. It looks like, and she actually her channel's only 2 months old, and she already has 117 subscribers. So this seems like somebody you may want to grab, as if you get them while they're new, they're more likely to stay a little bit more loyal to you. That makes sense.
Yeah. So she's emerging, is what's happening. She's an
Yeah.
emerging influencer. So she's early in her journey, which is good. Or this could be her second channel for all we know, or third channel, which is another thing that I have found is that sometimes they have multiple channels.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, but if she's someone who's fairly, I mean, it looks like, we're looking at somebody who's 2 months old in the game. You know, if she's new, you may want to hop on her.
Yep.
Don't take advantage, though. Be fair. You were new in the game too once, and you know how it felt to be taken advantage of. So we're not going to do that. You're going to come to them very professional and say, "Hey, I, I've been following you. I like what you're doing. I'd really like to work with you. Um, how can we work together?"
Okay.
Just I just have a thing about taking advantage of people,
Yeah.
and hey, it is what it is. Now there are just to be clear, a lot of major brands are actively looking to work with micro and nano influencers. And if you have if you're trying to bring a product to market and you have to go up against another major brand, you may this can be an end run around that. That makes sense to kind of
Yep.
build up your brand. To go with the little people, but don't forget who got you there. When you make it big, don't forget who helped you get big.
Well, we won't call them little people. We'll just go with those people that are emerging and growing. So we'll just go with that.
Yes. Yeah. Don't don't forget the people don't forget the people who helped you climb up the ladder. It
There you go.
that's it's just basic. Don't forget the people who help you get there. Like I will never forget Nicole who helped me get here.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So I'm not one to do a hard sell, but I am interested in making sure that you are prepared to work with influencers. So what I'm offering is a 30-minute consultation for $30, and that's it. Um, and during that consultation, we'll look at the product you're trying to sell or you're trying to bring to market. We're going to do brand awareness.
Okay. So 30 minutes for $30. And that's going to be a great opportunity for somebody who wants to launch a product this year, or maybe wants having a hard time trying to figure out which micro or nano influencers are in their area and or in their niche. And then for those people who grab the all access pass, somewhere on this page, like if you haven't grabbed the all access pass, you can do it now. So you can click on the link to upgrade to the all access pass. If you already have grabbed it, then you'll get a separate link to be able to register to sign up for your 30-minute consultation with Sharlotte to be able to help find your micro and nano influencers that can maybe help build your brand, your product, your awareness, whatever that happens to be. So those who don't grab the all access pass, 30 minutes for $30 is amazing offer for her time to be able to spend some time with you to go through that. So congratulations to you all as well. Also, Charlotte's information is going to be somewhere on this page. So you'll feel free to reach out to her if you have any questions. And yeah. So Charlotte, is there anything else you want to share? Because I know we lost internet at least 3 or 4 times, at least 4 during the session. But it's okay. God's grace and mercy is over this. So is there anything else you want to share?
No, I do want to encourage you guys to get the all access pass though. Um, if you miss a video or if you have to miss a session and you're not able to get to it the same day, that all access pass is very, very valuable because I guarantee you all of the speakers here have something valuable to share, and there are golden nuggets everywhere within the summit. So just be sure to get that all access pass.
There you go. All right. So, Charlotte, thank you so much for sharing this content with us today. I'm eternally grateful to you for your time and your perseverance through this challenging time that we have been experiencing. So, again,
Yeah.
we can only laugh at it now. So, this has been another episode of the eCom Seller Summit. Thank you so much, Miss Charlotte. Another masterclass, sorry, for the eCom Seller Summit with Miss Charlotte Jackson. And we're going to say goodbye for now.
Goodbye.